Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's Mike here at Gamefromscratch, and today we're going to be looking at the AI tools that are built into Unity. Now this is definitely the hot button thing in 2023. If you didn't announce AI, who were you? But what we got here, this is the announcement trailer from 2023 in March for Unity AI, what was coming soon. Now there's nothing really to this. This is basically, it's pure snake oil to be honest, but it's showing you a bunch of prompts that you could use with Unity in their upcoming AI tool suite. Now the reality turned to be quite a bit different than what you see here. Instead they launched a couple of products, Unity Muse Sprite, Muse Texture, and Muse Chat. So one is sort of like a generative art program. Well, both the two for sprites and textures are generative art tools. And then the other one is for basically a chat GPT that's been trained on Unity's data set. So we're going to take a look at all of those today, plus a couple new ones that were just announced. The reason why we're doing this is twofold. Basically, all of the functionality of Muse now is built into Unity. And in the past, this wasn't the case. So if you wanted to use Unity, Muse Chat, for example, you had to go to a separate website, which was really, really stupid. Now it is a built-in tool. On top of that, there is a free trial to check all of this stuff out, and we've got a couple of new experimental releases to check out as well, and those would be Muse Animate for creating and animating human characters, as well as Muse Behavior. Now there's another piece to this that I'm not talking about, which is Centis, which was previously a free product called Barracuda. That is for running neural networks inside of Unity. Completely different topic. I don't really view it as part of this, so I'm not really going to cover that today. So you're going to see here, we're going to look at all 5 key new Muse AI tools and see if any of this is worth it for you. Now I got to keep in mind, a lot of the stuff is very early on, but that doesn't prevent me from being critical about it because they are charging $30 a month for this once your 2-week free trial is up. But there is a 2-week trial if you want to go ahead and check that out. So here we are inside of Unity. I'm going to do this basically on the fly as we go. So the results you're going to see they're not pre-scripted. We have no idea what we're actually going to get out of this. If you want to go ahead and add these tools, pretty simple. Go to the package manager, go here to packages, add package by name. And then what you're going to want to do is go to com.unity.muse. We'll start with Sprite first. So com.unity.muse.sprite is the first package we're going to go ahead and install right here and give this a few seconds to go ahead and run. So again, I'll do this one by one. You should install all the dependencies that you need. Now, one thing to do keep in mind with this is some of these tools don't work with beta, and then since they did some changes to the location of TextMesh Pro, also the Animate tool doesn't work in 2023. So if you want to check all this stuff out, what you're going to want to use is the current LTS version, which is 2022 LTS. That's what I'm using today. So this will go ahead and install. For the rest of them, I'm not going to show you the install process, but that's basically what you do. So here we go. We've got Sprite in place, and you're going to notice immediately Muse gets added up here, and you get a new Sprite generator. So go ahead, we'll run this first. This is basically a licensed version of ChatGPT, I believe. So it's their built-in functionality. You see the generation model being used is Unity Sprite. You can pick the number of images to generate with each prompt. Up here, we'll say knight in shining armor with a sword and a billowing cloak. And we can do a negative prompt here, and we say we don't want any red. There is an example of it here. You could also do an input over here. I'll show you that later on, but let's see how it does with this and what the timeline is like. So we'll let this one run in real time as it generates these. I have no idea how long this is going to take and how long I'm going to need to talk. Now, one thing I did find in the past with this is I did get rate limited quite often. All right, so there you can see the typical timeline for it. Not great. Not great over here. Not bad. You're getting a pretty consistent art style there, but we're going to talk about art style in just a second here because you can actually train an art style off of a bunch of images. So we'll get back to that one in just a second. So here is our generated response. If you like something, basically you can click on the edit button, bring it in. You can actually refine it down, but I'm not sure actually what painting in does at this point in time. I do find the legs are more than a little bit depressing. You can also come here back to our generations. I could pick one of these, and if I want to bring it back to the game engine, I could go ahead and export it out like so, and basically then you're just saving up the PNG file that you wish. Another option you could do is, let's say, we'll do a simple prompt, a potion, half full of liquid. All right, we'll get rid of the negative prompt right here. And now what we'll do is go ahead and do a style, and we're going to show we kind of want it to look a bit like that. All right, so there is our prompt. So we've got an input image in here as well. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, well, I could do this with the existing image gen software that's out there. Yeah, that's very true. The big difference here, obviously, is you're getting this integrated directly inside of Unity. And then I think the other big selling point for it is the style tool. I would say that this one kind of completely, I don't like any of them, to be honest. To be completely honest with this, in my entire experimentation with Muse Sprites, I haven't really liked anything I've seen yet, to be honest. Now, there is some nice things. It will automatically strip out the background for you, as you can see right here. And then another thing that you can do, and this does take a very long time, but I will show it as part of this. You come down here, and you've got a style trainer. So what you can do with the style trainer is go down here, and I can create my own style. And I'll say World of Warcraft. I am ripping off World of Warcraft, like so. And I've actually already, so we're going to do 3 demos here of things. A knight. We'll do this one in shining armor with a sword. A skeleton clad in armor, sure. And then high elf female wizard. All right, so there we got our 3 prompts here for demos that it's going to go ahead and create. And now we need to actually add some training data to this. Oh no, that's not what I want to do right here. So I need to add the data to it. The training set needs at least 5 images. Yeah, so how do I drag and drop the training images there? I thought there was a button for that. All right, so what I'm going to do is I've already downloaded a bunch of images, put them on my desktop. I called it Mortal Kombat, MK, and then I changed my mind and went with World of Warcraft. So I don't know if I can do a multi-select here or not. So let's grab the World of Warcraft stuff I grabbed just to get the art style of World of Warcraft. Nope. All right. Drag and drop training images here. 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 All right, I've definitely got an error going on here because there should be a UI for adding training images here. So give me a second. Okay, so I resized like here, and now this is giving me the ability to do it. I don't know. So drag and drop doesn't work. So definitely there's some usability issues going on here. And this one is considered probably the most mature of the tools. It's one of those things to be aware of. So let's go ahead. We'll add that guy in. And it automatically resizes it to the size that's needed. We'll add that guy in. We will add that guy in. And no, you can't multi-select that guy in. Now, I wonder if drag and drop would have worked if I did the resize. I'm not sure if the resize in the window is what triggered and fixed things, but there we go. So we got our training data in. We've got our prompt over here, so our description up here. We've got a bunch of training sets to go, sample output. Oh, so I need to tab over here. Oh, that's just bad UI. I think it's my fault. I had to switch over to training set over here, but it did say drag and drop, and the drag and drop didn't work. So I don't know what's going on there, but let's go ahead. We'll generate the style here, and this actually takes a very long time. So you're going to see it runs and trains it for a bit, and then you're going to see that the options start popping up below. So you can see it's training the first version here, and it's more or less using the images that we uploaded as a training set, and then these 3 prompts, and it's going to create a version of this, this, and this using the art we specified as part of the training setup. So we're going to let this run. We'll see. This takes quite a while. And I don't even know if I'm going to let it do all 10 because it could actually take like an hour type thing. So this first one here, I think it took about 3 or 4 minutes the last time I did this, but it may not be quite that long. But I don't want to keep talking while we do this. So I'm going to let this all run, and I'll give you like a ballpark idea how long it took. Okay, just a quick heads up while it's still going. It's been about 5 minutes now, and we've got the first 2 sets trained. Interestingly enough, the second one never even showed up, so I don't know what's going on there. So in the first version, this guy's not there, but you see here, it's been about 5 minutes to 200 steps and then 400 steps. You can see each one of these is doing even more steps, so again, it's going to take quite some time. And once you're happy with one, what you basically do is come in and set it as the version you want. I'll let this run a couple more minutes or probably 20 more minutes and see what our results look like. All right, so 1 coffee and 1,400 steps later, also known as about 15 minutes, the training is done. Now what you're gonna notice here is it generated most results. For some reason, there's blank spots. Again, live demo, I'm not cherry picking. And what you do is come through here and pick which one you like the best. Now, I do kind of wish that you could pick individually. So, like, I like this High Elf Wizard more than this one, for example, but I like, well, this skeleton a lot more than this one. Not particularly sold on either knight. Again, you got some blank spots here. I don't know why that is, the failure point here. But you basically have to come through here and select which one is the best in your opinion. So we're going to head on down through here, see which one jumps out to me. What they did to her face here is not amazing me by any means. But to be honest, this is my consistent opinion of most generated pixel style art. Anyways, I'm never really that impressed with the results. I'm impressed that it can do this. Like this would have been black magic years ago, but at this point in time, so pick which one you like the best. Which one am I gonna go with? Let's pick one where her face actually get rendered-ish. Probably this one. All right, so you go in, set as your default version, and now you have trained a style. So what you'd use this normally for, I believe, is you'd send up your own, your own artwork and have it train off so you could create more art in your own style. But that is how you train the style. So what I could do to come back here, and I'll just do, let's create a centaur with a bow. All right, there we go. And then now what I do is I pick my art style here. World of Warcraft. All right, right there. We could draw what we want. We don't need to do that, and we'll go ahead and generate it. So let's go ahead and see how it looks with a World of Warcraft trained art style. And yeah, so generative art stuff is always very polarizing in the first place. There is the result. See, this is why generative art just isn't my thing. So here we have the centaur has no head. Here we have the centaur is holding a magic wand, I think, has really screwed up legs and no human head, so that's just a horse. Here is probably the closest thing possible, but the bow is a thing. And here's a different monstrosity. So none of these are really doing much for me. I suppose if I drew in a shape, let's just do a... So this is how I want my centaur to look. And let's see, at least if it knows to always make it face that direction and to make it have like a horse's head. So let's see if giving it some input imaging actually helps at all. So give this a second. I'll just return when it's done. Oh, actually, it's starting to come back immediately. It's got the direction right. Is it just a horse now? Maybe it's because I gave it like a horse's style snout that it screwed up. But look, like, okay, that's... I don't even know what this monstrosity is. That, again, is just a horse. And here we've kind of got a centaur thing going on. So I would just call, in all honesty, this is pretty typical to what I see from generated AI art in general. But that is Unity Muse. So it's integrated in. The art style thing definitely works. So you are getting the aesthetic of the tools you send in. It's just the end results are disappointing, to say the least. So let's move on from there to texture. Now, texture added the exact same way. So we go on up here, we go to the package manager. We will add our package by name, and we'll go ahead and call this texture. It will get and configure it. I'll be back when that is done. All right, that is now installed. By the way, the generative stuff, there is a thing about where they acquire all their art from. They say it's all licensed and ethically sourced and so on. There is, again, an FAQ over where Muse trains their data on if you're interested. So now we're going to go ahead and launch the texture generator. So here it is, very similar to the last tool. It's just instead of generating sprites, this is generating textures. So again, you've got the data model that you're using, Unity Texture 1. You can say how many textures you generate at a time, and you can pick the prompt for what to generate. So we could say a brick road. It's a very simple one. And we could say down here, so negative prompt, yellow. So we're not going to make any yellow brick roads here, just a standard brick road. And we'll go ahead, let's generate that and see what it does. If you're wondering, okay, I could do all of this with DALL-E or Midjourney or whatever, Llama, whatever you're using, yeah, you could. It's just this is tightly integrated into Unity. That's pretty much the selling point here. So there is our generated brick roads. Now, another thing that you can do here is actually send in a colored square of what you want to do. You can't draw it this time, but your other option here is you can actually bring in a shape, and we'll do it this time with a pattern. So let's do like a herringbone pattern here, and we'll keep the same thing. So brick road, and let's see what it does with that work. So you can see much better results. This one, actually, you could use it as a texture in your game. No problem at all, to be honest. And for any one of these things, you can click on it, get into more detail. Again, you got the ability to erase and paint things out on them. I'm not sure what it actually does at this point in time, to be honest. And then you've got your guy here. Now what you can actually do is you could create more variations from this particular one you want. You could upscale it to a higher resolution texture if you want. And now what we're going to do is view it as a PBR material. So this is going to create the normal maps and all of that stuff as well. So here you can see it as a PBR material in your world. You can switch out the HDRI environment. So here we are, what it would look like inside. Let's look at daytime, outside, like so. We could tile that a little bit more. So let's do 5 by 5. So here you can see what your texture would look like right here. You've got control over the height map that's generated, both as a negative if you wish, or as a positive value right there. Metal mapness on there, and smoothness map, like so. And you've got the ability to not use those two if you wish. And then if you actually like your texture, what you just do basically is go ahead and click here and click export, and it will save it as a material. So we're gonna go brick road material. There we go. So let it go ahead and generate it. It should be done. And export it out. And then let's add something into the scene, create a new scene. So let's create a new 3D object, sphere in our world. Let's go over here, look at it this way. All right, there we go. And go on down here in our assets folder. Our brick road texture should be there. And let's drop it on our object right there. And there you see, you could use it to create your texture pretty quickly, like so. Yeah, and again, tiling, it looks better tiled like that. There is a quickly generated texture using the Muse texturing tools. Now, I would argue that this is 10 times more useful than Muse Sprite. I could actually see using this, especially if you were prototyping, you wanted quick textures, generated textures, integrated inside of Unity. I do see value to this tool. Muse Sprite, I don't know what I would ever actually use that for, to be honest. Muse Texture, I can see some value in it. Curious what you think down below. But it's pretty straightforward. And now let's move on to the next in our series. And we'll go with the next most mature one, and that is Muse Chat. So once again, package manager, add by name, paste, Muse Chat. All right, so this is basically a special licensed version of ChatGPT trained on Unity's code, Unity's examples, Unity's documentation, and so on. If you have access to ChatGPT 4, you can recreate a lot of this, but again, you'd have to just point it towards those data sets yourself to get the same results, and you're not going to get the integration. Although if you go to the asset store, you're going to find there are a number of ChatGPT in Unity plugins out there as well. Now, the killer thing here is when this first launched, when the Muse Chat was first in existence, it was a website, which was the dumbest thing I have ever seen. Like, how can you launch a Unity tool that wasn't built directly inside of Unity? But that's how it was. But with this release that is now available, it is integrated in. So the install should be done right now. All right, there we go. So there, Muse Chat is ready to go. So let's come up here. I'm going to need a game object later on. So let's go ahead and just create a new game object of type empty. All right, we'll use that guy later on. So what I'm going to do is go to Muse. You're going to find now we have Muse Chat, like so. And right here, basically, it has a history. And you can see some example prompts that they've gone here with how to create a rain shader. How can I create a character controller for walking, running, and jumping? How can I make inverse kinematic leg? Those are some of the examples they give. Another thing that you can do is if you have something selected, it will show up down here. So I think that by default, it will work with that object, but I'm not 100% certain that that is the way it works. So what I'm going to do is create 100 instances of this object located within 10, 10, 10 of actually we'll go with 0, 0, 0. Apply a rigid body to each, then randomly apply an impulse. Actually, we'll be more specific. A physics impulse to each object. All right, see what it does for that. So we'll go ahead and run that. It's going to do its Muse thing. This is iterative, so if you don't like the answer or if you have any issues with it, you can basically follow up and prompt. You've probably used ChatGPT at this point in time. This is basically creating a ChatGPT type process. Hopefully it gives me it in a summary. So we got a breakdown of what you need to do. So create a new object, loop through the object, and then it's got reference sources to where it actually pulled each of these information from. You're going to see the majority of these are pointing to Unity documentation, which is definitely useful. So it is trained on Unity's documentation. Let's see. Can you give me that source code in a single listing? So let's see how well it does here, because I want to copy and paste a single version, not multiple different pieces. So let's see how well it works with the back and forth. And there we go. So it actually does follow up what I did there, which is kind of nice. And there. All right. So let's go here. So it's telling me, please replace your object with the prefab that you want to instantiate. You can do this by dragging and dropping the object from the project view to the your object field. Okay, so there we go. So we got it copied. This was called object generator. So let's go over here, create a new source code file. New, create, C# script, and object generator. I actually think that chatting, I like code assistants like this. It's been, I was using ChatGPT for a while until I started using Codium. I do see value in these tools. I also definitely see their limitations. There's no question there. All right, so here we got object generator. It should be copied over. Now, it is doing one of those things that I've noticed in the past is it doesn't always give me, okay, no, I got all my includes, so that's good. This code should, in theory, work. I'm not going to read through it in terms of what it does, but it does apply the force to each one. Adds the component into the game. All right, so there we go. So object generator, mono behavior, we're good to go. Let's go ahead, build our code, works fine. Let's close this down. All right, so we're back in Unity. Done. All right, so we can leave. Chat is a dockable window, by the way, so you can move this into wherever you wish it to go. So if you wanted to have a side view over like leaking hair and leave it as running like Sorrel. So we got our game object right here. That is going to be our chat controller. We'll just go ahead and drop this guy in there. And our game object is the sphere. And we'll drop that there into our object. And moment of truth, did it actually generate code that does what we want? Yeah, it does. The force isn't that impressive, so gravity basically just drew everything out. But it did generate 100 spears with the Rich Buddy attached to them and added a random amount of force to them. So I think we added a bunch more force in, it would work better, but in all honesty, I think this works quite well. I do like the fact that it is trained directly on their documentation. I do like the fact that it cites sources. I do like the fact that it is finally actually integrated into Muse Chat, and then at the same time, you can now, again, have that iterative history ongoing, and you've got the copy and paste built directly in here. I do kind of wish it had like a create a project out of this, so like it could actually create this object for us instead of us having to create one and copy it in. But that's a quibble and something that will come in time. I would actually give Muse Chat, a thumbs up. Now, again, this is very much a specialized version of ChatGPT. So if you're paying for ChatGPT, you're not going to get much out of this. But if you're using Unity only, this does add to the Muse AI proposition in terms of justifying that $30 a month, because you could get rid of the, what is it, $15 now for ChatGPT if you're working just in Unity. And this one is specifically trained to work with C# and Unity code. And the results are pretty good, to be honest. At least my limited experience here. You always get it do dumb things. Sometimes it doesn't bring in the proper usings. Sometimes it just creates code that doesn't work. But for the most part, it seems to do a pretty good job. So that is the Muse Chat. The nice thing about Muse Chat, again, it is now directly integrated, which I think is actually a big deal. So yeah, we're going to move on to the next two. Now, the next two are experimental. I'm not going to cover them in a ton of depth because, quite frankly, they are experimental. But the first one we're going to show you is Animate. Again, same process. Window, package manager, add by name, boom. Oops. Oh, I copied away from my thing. So now I got to actually type unity.muse. and then animate. Like so, let it add. I'll be back when it's done. All right, so now we're ready for this one, Muse and then animate generator, and here we go. So let's animate. All right, so what you're doing here is basically creating animations using prompts. I have found the results a little on the random side, so we could say how many generations to make and how many seconds to go. So let's do 3 generations. Describe our motion here. A walking man with a limp. All right, pretty straightforward. 3 seconds of it. We'll go ahead and generate. It will generate 3 of them. This one is one of the ones where I found you got to be very slow in your requests or it will limit you quite a bit. I'll leave this running as it actually generates them so you get an idea of how long this actually takes. Now, I've only played around with this tool for a little bit. And again, I'm not going to judge this one too harshly because quite frankly, it's still experimental at this point in time. So it's not considered as production ready as some of the other things that we've seen. And let's see what it generated. So here is our first result of a man with a limp. I would call it a man with a stoop, but that is what it did. Okay, and then let's see this one. Yeah, okay, not my favorite result either. Maybe limpish. Okay. What you can do with it though is come in here and make it edible. And go ahead and convert that into an editable example. And then what it seems to be is kind of like quasi keyframed. So I'll show you what I mean in just a second. So here you got the various different cycles as you go through it. So what I could do is I can actually pick one of them, I thought. Maybe I need to click done. All right, so here I can pick one of them at a particular frame, and then what you can see is as it's going through. So if I wanted to, okay, which foot was the most limpy? This one. All right, so I could grab that frame. So this one, and we'll. All right, so you can make these little edits as you go through, and you can do it with all of the body, right? So here I can actually, like his pelvis and move it around accordingly. So you can actually tweak the generated results and go basically keyframe by keyframe and do that, and then it will solve the animations as you did it, and hopefully get something more to your liking in the end result. So now it solved it with my little tweaks. I'm not gonna say any of my tweaks actually made things better, but you can tweak the generated animations as you go. Now, one thing I found, this only works with bipedal animations. Jump, then run, then slide. Let's try that. We will make this a little bit longer. And what I found is it doesn't seem to do any verticality. So when I tried anything along the lines of jumping, cartwheel, handstand, anything like that, it doesn't seem to have that capability yet. But I got to be honest, I've worked with a number of generative AI animation tools, and I haven't liked the results of any of them as of yet, other than like assistive tools, things like Cascadeur, much different kind of approach to animation than this. Whereas, again, the walking and running and sliding and that kind of stuff animations generally are pretty good. And again, you can tweak them and modify them in here, which is actually pretty nice. But I haven't found, this isn't an area where AI is doing it well. Anybody is doing it well. So let's see how they did with our prompt. So there's our jump, then run, then slide. So jump-ish. Okay, it didn't do the slide, but it did the jump, which is actually better than, I haven't had good vertical. Okay, so that one actually, I will applaud this. This is a jump, then run, then slide. So if I took the run out of there, because he kind of like tries to run mid-jump, which I don't think is ideal, but you see a jump, didn't do bad, slide, and then goes, not bad. And then here, jump, slide, run. All right, so let's say you actually liked one of these. Basically, just go ahead, you can export it out like so, and it saves it as an anim. And then you can go ahead and use it in your scene. And I gotta give it credit, this is actually one of the first times I've seen it do verticality right. So the jump here, that's the first time. Let's try it. Let's see if it's working better then. So do a cartwheel. Because I actually think when I first evaluated this guy, I was using a slightly earlier build of it. So maybe it's gotten better at this kind of thing. So let's go ahead and see what it does with a cartwheel. In the past, what it did with a cartwheel was not good. But I'll pause it while it's generating. All right, for example, I just got a too many requests pop-up message here while we were doing that, but I got 2 down. So let's go ahead and see what a cartwheel looks like. Okay, you know what? I got to give it credit. It can do this now. So it must have been a version thing. So I take back what I said about verticality. Now I'm also going to say there's definitely some issues with this cartwheel. Let's see if this one's any better. Not bad, actually. It's a starting point. Again, you're never going to replace a professional animator with the end result here. But again, any one of these, you can bring them in here. You can animate it, convert it in, and then it will bring up those individual keyframes that you can work from, and then you could fix the animation to be something that you want to use. So I got to applaud them here, and I have to say, Muse Animate definitely got better at doing things like this. This is actually a lot better than it was before. So you can see here, it's that key, right around that keyframe that things go wrong. So if you wanted to go ahead and fix it, you should be able to basically tweak the generated results and get something. I think this is where the problem really is. So let's. I don't know if I actually did the improvement there, but you can see how you could also come in here and tweak out the animation to the point where, you know, the glitchiness or the weirdness are gone. Let's go ahead and see how that actually looks with the edit in. A little bit better, actually. Gets rid of some of the wonkiness. So you can see how you do have the tools in here to clean up the animations. Again, I don't think there's any animator watching this going, oh, God, I'm going to lose my job. But it definitely is a tool, especially for if you want to get prototyped animations out, etc., that could do very good in that regard. By the way, we exported out that animation earlier on. You can see it's here as an animation. So you can see it's ready to go over here. And that's our jump slide. I forget exactly what this animation was for, but it gives you an idea of what Muse Animate can do. Now, again, this one was early on, and I have to give it a lot of credit. It's actually looking pretty cool. Next up, we have this guy here, which our last guy that we're going to look at is, and I don't think I saved, so I have to type once again. So com.unity.muse.behavior. Now, this one is kind of the coolest and the one I'm going to demo the worst, just because I'm going to give you the idea what's behind it. It's basically an AI state machine creator. We'll come back when this is installed, and it is ready. So what you're going to notice here, you come into the Muse menu, and where's my behavior? Now, this is weird. This is a continuity or user flow thing, a little feedback to the Unity team. I don't know why this one is done as a create thing. So you access it this way as opposed to up here. Even if you just had Muse create animation behavior to create this, because it was just confused the hell out of me about where is this thing. All right, so here we are. Uses the Blackboard approach. If you've used their new shader tools or anything like that, you got an idea what's going on. And this is basically like an AI state graph visual programming language thing for controlling behaviors. They've got like a full 30-minute video demonstrating how you can use this to set up guard patrols and so on. I'm just going to show you the very, very basics of it. So first we've got, none of this actually what you're going to see initially has any AI involved in it. It's basically a visual programming language for creating state graphs. So here on start, come down here. So you got other options available, by the way, in addition to start. So on start, send message, start event message, and wait for event message as examples as entry points. But with our start, what we could do is come down here and drop in, we could do an action. So we say move to target, and we could have one object over here. So we could say self, and then over here we could have, you know, another target over here. So we could go ahead and create here a new game object. We'll call it target, like so, and drop, we can come up here and pick target as our target. So basically, when this starts, whatever object this is attached to, whichever graph this is controlling, is going to move to the target. Interesting. So there's more to it than that. You'd want to be able to set the movement speed, the animation, and so on. And what you're going to notice is there are actually tools for all of those things. So animations, You can set the animation floats, integers, and so on. You can have it find objects in the world. You can have it do physics, waiting for a collision, and so on. So that is like kind of a very basic approach. Now, being state machines, you're going to have changes in states quite often. How this is done, and the UI for this is a little janky, so let's see how it does. So we're going to come up here. We're going to create a new, and then we're going to call this possible actions, like so. And we'll go with, like, I don't know, patrol, attack, and flee. Okay, so there we go. We've got 3. We'll go ahead and create it. It will create a file called possibleactions.cs, and this is basically populating an enum class for us. You'll see it just showed up down here, our new enum over there. It's going to go ahead and do its compilation stuff as we go. I got a warning going here. Instance will be given a default type of graph.variable model. Sure. All right, so we now have this guy right here. In the past, this didn't immediately show up for me, so they do seem to have improved that aspect of it. So then what we're going to do is we'll say, once we move to our target, we'll go down here, and we'll go to flow, and we'll go conditional, and we'll go switch. And we choose our enum, so it's this guy right here. I wish you could do a drag and drop. I don't know why you can't, but we'll pick it here, new possible actions, and then you see it switches between each of the possible states. And then you could do those conditions also with other conditions. For example, I could patrol, and I'll come down here and basically say flow, and then I could do parallel, so run in parallel, wait for any, wait for all, so on. So basic program flow control. Again, we got our conditional right here. Or we could just basically say, repeat until success, repeat until failure. So repeat until success, and then have this person move around, look for the target, and so on. So you can basically do scripting of logic right here. You can notice over here you've got some parameters that are available here. So we go move to target. You can say the speed to go, the distance threshold. You can set in an animator tool for setting how that should actually happen. So you do have parameters that you can set here. Now, the big thing that you're going to probably want to do is create your own actions. And this is where the AI starts to come in. So create new action. So we can do it right here. And I can say, attack player. And this is an action. You can pick the various different types of actions available. So we'll keep it as an action. And then right now what I could do is basically say use generative AI. So agent moves towards player and does damage if within a distance of 5. Let it figure out what that is all about. Now, as you're going through here, you're telling it, these are all just basically prompts to the AI about what to work with here. But what I could do basically here is say agent is a game object, normal, player is a game object, damage is an int, so it knows how to actually go about using these things. And you can have it do it, so you could also use this one here and have it create and basically describe the entire action you want to do with the various different events. But let's go with this one first. And what this is going to do is create kind of a stub, if you will. So you can see here all the various different things that we prompted. So we told it agent, player, and damage are game objects. It creates the stub code, and now we can use that as an action. So let's go back over here again, and we'll create another action. So create new action, and this time, so run from player. This is an action. Come on in here. And then this is just the description. Run away from the player. Use generative AI. On start, move to 000, then look for the player. If the player is within 5, run away. Oh, so instead of then, so here, we'll instead say on update, look for player. All right, and we'll let AI do the scripting. This is a run from player that is going to go ahead and create. And now it's actually going to use AI generated code. So I think it's kind of probably using the equivalent of Muse Chat there to generate this logic for us right here. And you can see the end result. So we got things like the player position, the current position, and then on start, again, it did what I said. It moved them to 000. And then on update, it's checking between the current position and the player position. And if it's less than that safe distance, which was the 5 that I told it earlier on, it looks for it. Otherwise, it sets status to running. So it actually is generating what I want. It is kind of a code generator behavior and so on. So now run from player is available as an action. So let's go on back over here. So flee, we could drop this down and go action. Oh, it's here. I don't know what this is here for. So flee, action, where is it? So run from player. So there we go. And there's no parameters to it, so that's why it's not getting us to set anything. There's nothing needed up here or anything. But that is the generated script that the AI created for us in this behavior controller. So this is kind of like again, a mini scripting system for computer logic using, AI logic using these control graphs here. Again, a lot of it is going to be built around state machines. Switches are going to be quite often, but you can also use AI to create the actions that are being done. Now, I do find that it fails enough that if you don't, it's just like any code generator. If you don't know how to program, you're going to spend more time trying to figure out how to break what it did. But could you use this as like a first step or an initial code generator or as a place to start? Probably. Again, it's pretty early on, so it'd be interesting to see how these things ultimately turn out in the end. But you can also, again, as we saw earlier on with our first action we created, have it generate stubs for you, and then you just use traditional programming to go in there. So in some ways, I look at this behavior graph system as completely separate to Muse in general. It doesn't need to do anything to do with AI at all. Unfortunately, I think if you're going to want to have this state graph logic controller available for your game, you're going to need to use Muse, even if you don't use the generative AI side of things. I may be wrong on that. I'm not sure exactly how this is going to be bundled otherwise, but I do think that this is only part of Muse. So you could use this without any AI-generated code at all, and there is definitely behavior potential in this. There's a lot of third-party plugins that do this kind of thing, but it's cool to see them have this AI state machine tool and functionality built in there, and then it has that code generative stuff on there as well. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is a quick overview of the state of Unity AI tools. Some of them actually impressed me more than I thought. Some of them are definitely more useful now that they are directly integrated into Unity. The kicker is they're charging for this. So once your 2-week trial is up, this is $30 a month. And I think it's too early for that personally, but I do see potential here. I see potential in Animate and Behavior. If they come along the way that they're starting, I could definitely see how you could get value out of it. Chat is immediately useful today. Think of it basically as a specially trained version of ChatGPT. So if you're paying your $15 a month for ChatGPT now and you only use it for Unity, you're probably better off using Muse Chat than you are for ChatGPT. So there is the $15 of the $30 justified. The thing is the rest of it worth that money? I can see value in Texture for prototyping. Again, you have the ethical quandaries of the data sets used to generate these. They do have documentation on responsible AI, where they get their data from, and so on. Definitely worth checking out to see if you're comfortable with what they're doing. And then Animate and Behavior, these actually have the most potential in some ways. I think Chat is definitely the most useful today. Behavior and Animate have the most potential going forward. Texture is definitely useful as a prototyping or rapid development tool. And Sprite's more AI jank in my humble opinion, and I think that they really hurt themselves by starting with Sprite. Because number one, you can already get this from like DALL-E and Midjourney and all these other tools that are out there. And number two, this is the most polarizing part of AI that people hate completely. And you saw what my results were. I do like the style builder aspect of it, but did you see anything that you would actually use in a game? Because I certainly didn't. And of all of the tools here, of the 5 things included here, Sprite is by far the weak link, in my opinion. But I'm curious, what do you think of the Muse AI tools? Do you see any promise here, potential here? Do you think it's justified for that $30 a month, or do you see potentially down the road it being worth it? Or do you think it's all crap? Let me know, comments down below. I will talk to you all later, and goodbye.